Welcome back. The Secretary of State Antony Blinken speaking by phone with Paul Whelan. He, of course, is the American who's been wrongfully detained by Russia for more than 4 years now. Whelan was accused by Russia of being an American spy when he was arrested at the end of 2018, an accusation that the U.S. government says is not true. In 2020, Whelan was sentenced to 16 years in a remote Russian prison camp. Paul Whelan's brother, David Whelan, joins us now. David, thank you for being here on the program and joining us here on the Hill on NewsNation. There was this phone call between the Secretary of State and your brother, who is wrongfully imprisoned in Russia. I'm wondering what you can tell us about that call and if it brought you any new hope, potentially.
It sounds like Paul had a very direct conversation with the Secretary of State, very much focused on where the U.S. government is on bringing Paul home, as well as worried about his current state of affairs. That's what the State Department does, is they do consular support. And so very kindly, the Secretary of State, asked about things that were affecting Paul. I don't think the call actually changes anything in Paul's case. It was a status update and an extraordinary one by Secretary of State, but it doesn't indicate that there's any movement in Paul's case.
How's your brother doing? I mean, it's tough to hear you say that you don't think there's any movement. How's he doing?
He seems to be okay. I think one of the most remarkable things about Paul is that we're coming up on 1,700 days, and he is still motoring along. I mean, he's doing the best he can. He has described how their labor camp, where they're supposed to be making textiles, they no longer have materials coming in because of the sanctions and the war against Ukraine. And so they spend the whole day sitting in the factory, just sitting at their sewing tables. They're not allowed to do anything else, read a book, anything like that. And then they go and have these meals that have gotten very small, again, since the sanctions and the war. So they're being underfed compared to what they were even when he got there a few years ago. And it's a hard existence, but he has done a remarkable job of staying upbeat, staying focused on, getting through each day and hopefully getting to the day when he's released.
David, I want to read you a headline from the Wall Street Journal yesterday. It says the following, quote, "Russia has shown scant interest in prisoner swaps for dozens held in U.S. prisons. Effort at a trade for Americans, including Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich, involving a third country have hit hurdles, prompting new attention to options in the U.S." Is that the issue or an issue, as you understand it, that if there is a potential prisoner swap involving your brother and Evan Gershkovich, that a third country and Russian assets there would need to be involved?
I'm not sure. I think the Kremlin has made specific requests to the U.S. government, and I don't know what they are. We know that they did in the case of both Konstantin Yaroshenko and Victor Bout. And unfortunately, President Trump decided not to trade Paul for those two gentlemen, and those gentlemen have now gone home for Trevor Reed and for Brittany Griner. So it's great that Americans came home, but it means that the U.S. government doesn't really have any other assets that the Kremlin appears to want. And as the Wall Street Journal reporters noticed, there are dozens, even maybe 100 or more Russians in American prisons, federal and state. And the Kremlin isn't looking for those. And so I think it makes it very difficult for the U.S. government to resolve the case when they don't have the concession that the Russian government is looking for.
There is a lot of focus as well, rightfully so, on Evan Gershkovich, the Wall Street Journal reporter wrongfully detained in Russia as well. Have you been given any guarantee, David, from the administration that if there is a prisoner swap involving Evan Gershkovich, it would also involve your brother?
I haven't. The U.S. government has made it clear that Paul is a priority, and we expect that he will be coming home the next time that an American comes home. It'd be unfortunate if he wasn't.
Is the Biden administration doing everything that it can, in your view?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it takes two to tango. And so no matter what the U.S. government does, if the Kremlin isn't willing to accede and go along with concession, and so far they haven't, there isn't a whole lot more that the U.S. government can do. I do have a perpetual concern that they have not turned over every rock. They haven't made every hard decision they can. So I'm hoping that is going on. But so far, I don't see that we're any closer to getting Paul home.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.